Okay, Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, just when everyone was saying overrated Lions, they need to step up, they're not good. Who have they beaten? They haven't won any, haven't had any big wins against a playoff caliber team. Well, Broncos are trying to make the playoffs, and the Lions just blew the brakes off of them. This offense was incredible. Let's talk about what it was able to do so well against a defense that had been playing much better football down the stretch. Let's start off with this play because, the Lions, they just have so many different players who can come through. And that's kind of what makes this such a, valuable team. And especially with Sam LaPorta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jameson Williams have all really stepped it up this season. They're all more or less new additions. Williams was technically there last year, but really they're kind of guys who are just all of a sudden stepping it up. And some of them are really coming into their own down the stretch. But LaPorta's been great all year. Let's talk about him for a second. On paper, you wouldn't think he'd be doing much. He's just the check down route on this one. A lot going on over the middle, but, if you don't love what you see, just hit LaPorta. Never a bad play to get the ball into 87's hands. Watch as Goff takes the snap. He's going to look over. It actually takes a second for LaPorta to get open just because there was traffic in front. Nothing, he was doing a fine job. But now, Goff, there is pressure about to hit him. But okay, just go over and try to flip it to LaPorta. Doesn't love what he sees down the field. As you see, that's what Goff does. Goff, great job facilitating, getting the ball into the right player's hands. At this spot, though, all right, this isn't going to go for much, but that's fine. You got 8 yards on 1st and 10. You're happy. Well, not happy enough. Watch LaPorta makes a move. Somehow, he gets a touchdown on that play. I don't know how he did it. That was insane. I don't know. Reminds me of like Rob Gronkowski type things here. That was one of his 3 touchdowns on the day. Yes, you heard me correctly. 3 touchdowns on the day. And guess what? This wasn't even the best play a Lions player made close to the sideline in this one. That, of course, belongs over here to Jameson Williams, the wide receiver who, like I said, has started to make plays as of late. And if he can get going, that would be great. I mean, again, he's had his suspension and injuries that have kind of derailed the start of his career. But many people, including myself, had him as the number 1 receiver in his draft class. Granted, the fact that I had him as my number 1 receiver might actually be a deterrent, not a positive, but nevertheless. Again, you see Goff's going to take the snap. Simple play. I didn't even really set it up, but I'm sure you could figure it out. Just kind of going underneath the coverage there. You see that right here. You're sitting here saying, no, it's not possible. He's not gaining much more yards on this. It's not happening. Well, watch this. I mean, talk about walking the tightrope right there. I mean, a tightrope might have been too big for what he did on that one. That was absolutely insane. And honestly, reminds me a bit of like Ja'Marr Chase, right? You know how Ja'Marr Chase will sometimes make those moves where it's like, it feels like he barely even moved, but, was able to still make something happen. That's what you see Williams do on this play. It's the kind of, ability to win a game of tag when you're in a phone booth type of incredible athleticism that he showed off on that play. And sometimes it's the simple stuff like this, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's still their guy. Like, listen, LaPorta, Williams, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, Jahmyr Gibbs, all these players, David Montgomery, can't forget about him. They're all fun, but it still is Amon-Ra St. Brown's team, it feels like. He is their guy. You're going to have hey, it's not all about one guy, though, right? Sam LaPorta is going to run a setup route, try to clear things out, and then you have Amon-Ra St. Brown trying to get into a gap in coverage. And as you see, when this play begins, it's working out perfectly. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown trying to get open in a gap in coverage right there. So well done by everyone here. And Goff puts it right on the money to where St. Brown can run after the catch, and run after the catch he does. Talk about getting a huge play. I mean, that's an explosive play on that one. And not just like barely, the 15 yards that you need for explosive. That was nearly 30 yards on that one play that a lot of times you're just thinking, hey, cool, we got like 12. Like, that's a huge jump to make something like that happen. And it's just because so many of these players are so talented. I'm around St. Brown. I can't just show one play of him. I got to show another play of his. So let's show one over here where it's going to use the kind of Madden angle a little bit. St. Brown, it's a bit of a weird situation, but he's going to be in motion, and then he's going to cut over the middle. That's what's happening. And again, it's smart, right? That's what, reminds me a lot of what the Rams do with Cooper Kupp. They do similar things with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of, hey, let's get him in motion. Let's sometimes line him up as a slot receiver. Sure, he's our most talented receiver, but let's make things easier on him, not make things harder on him. That'll just make it even better. Get a potential mismatch with putting him in motion. And then when this play begins, you're going to see him start to run down the field. Obviously, you have the inherent disadvantage of he's not exactly on the line right when the ball is snapped, but you get the advantage of a defender who maybe isn't your number one defender has to try and cover Amon-Ra St. Brown. Watch St. Brown cut over the middle. He gets wide open. Goff is able to make a nice throw over the traffic and get it to St. Brown. These are just the types of plays that they just consistently hit on, and that's part of what makes them so talented is the fact that they can just hit on these things, all game like they were able to do against Denver. And of course, I would be dismissed if I did not bring up a Jahmyr Gibbs highlight play. All those idiots in the draft evaluation, guys like me saying, oh, the Lions, so dumb for drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. Listen, I'm still not in favor of drafting a running back there, but at least they got a really good running back, and he has been fantastic for them. This play, you see the blocking concept on the screen, but the situation is also insane. This is 3rd down and 10, and they are running the ball here. And listen, I'm sure to some degree, given the fact that they're, where they're at on the field, they'd be willing to go for it on a 4th down, but you don't want to face a 4th down. If you're, whatever play you're running, you're hoping that it can still get you a 1st down. So they like what they see here, which is why they're running it. Watch as they hand the ball off to Gibbs, and there's a hole here because it's so well blocked, and that's the other underrated aspect of this Lions team. We all know, but still, it should be mentioned, offensive line, really great. Also, since I've last spoken, they've changed it to 3rd and 9 on the broadcast. So, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, either way, watch Gibbs just explode through that gap. He picks up a 1st down. This is just great stuff from Gibbs. And the fact that, he... with him and how he played, over 10 yards per attempt, and he's getting relegated to just the end of the video. Oh yeah, can't forget about this guy. That just goes to show how many players were doing great in this game. I barely even mentioned Goff. The guy had a 5-0 touchdown to interception ratio in this game, and he's an afterthought because of how many players played well. And also the Lions defense played really well. I know people were mocking the Broncos, and I get it, but also you got to give credit to the team that won. Got to give credit to the Lions, and I almost feel like in some ways the Lions won this game so heavily that now everyone has turned on Denver. If the Lions won by 3, people would say, hey, good win against a good team. But since they dominated, everyone's saying, oh, actually, no, the Broncos stink. It's one of those weird things. At the end of the day, I do think this was an impressive win, and this Lions team this week reminded me a lot of that Lions team that early on in the season when I did my tier rankings, I put them in the Super Bowl contender tier because this is the team that I was seeing when they were doing that. Now, again, they haven't done that week in and week out, but I really do think the Bears are just a bad matchup for them because the Bears have good linebackers. I really think that's kind of an underrated aspect. And well, if you get to the playoffs, they're in the playoffs, but when they get to the playoffs, you're going to play some good linebackers, but at the same time, I think they're a really good team. I think they're going to find ways to, they're not an easy out. I think people almost are talking about them like they're an easy out. I don't think that's the case. And also an interesting final 3 games. They played the Vikings twice and the Cowboys. So, in theory, Minnesota could win the division because there's a 3-game gap. If Minnesota wins out and, they would take the tiebreaker over Detroit. Don't think that's going to happen, but just it should be interesting to see, the Lions, who I think will win the division and get the 3 seed. Although, honestly, the 2 seed is totally possible with how Detroit and Philadelphia are looking, so maybe that happens as well. But it should just be interesting to see what the Lions do from here, and I think they can show us some things in these next 3 games. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.